Hi everyone, welcome to another American TESOL Presents Free Friday webinars. I'm your hostess, Shelly Sanchez-Terrell, and we are here every Friday. It's AmericanTESOL.com, and we cover many different topics. Today we're actually going to be covering business English or financial literacy lessons and activities. I'm currently in the airport, so if you hear any background noises and stuff, they're probably related to being in the airport. I'm coming to you today from New York, Buffalo, New York, after just crossing the border from Canada for a conference that I was keynoting there. So, and next week I'll be coming to you from Canada again. So one of the reasons why I think business English is really great, or teaching financial literacy in general, it's really important because our students, our learners, it's important for them to learn how to use, how to spend money, how to plan for financial things in their lives. And I think that that's really important because that's a lesson that all our learners can use the rest of their lives. So when I was teaching in San Antonio, Texas, high school, I had my students go through an entire unit for a month where they learned things like how to calculate interest, how to buy a home, how to finance their first car. And we went through many different simulations, and the students really learned a lot from that. They would sometimes, they'd have to go through the simulations of buying insurance and things like that. So this site right here, goodcalculators.com, is a really great site. It has many different types of calculators so that you can calculate different things such as salary and income. You can calculate things such as your taxes. And there's a lot of sites where your students can do this and practice, but instead it's not real. It's a simulation is when they go through the actions and movements and they see what are the possibilities. So I really like this site, goodcalculators.com, free, and has lots of different calculators for calculating different types of daily activities. So you can make it make-believe for many of your students. You can give them different scenarios. Often I would give them little cards that would say, oh no, a flood is coming. So now you have to look up different insurance, see, how much the insurance is, what it'll cover, and that teaches them financial literacy as well. A really great idea that some teachers in schools have started are Shark Tank projects. And so it's based off of the film, of the TV show, the popular one, Shark Tank. And what basically you're doing is getting different innovators and business leaders and community members in your school districts, in your community, to volunteer to be part of a board. So you can look for they're going to be judges, and you want to look for, you can do anywhere from 3 to about 5. And what they do is they'll ask students questions about an invention or an innovation. Okay, so your students can work in small groups or they can work in pairs. I'll show you a few lesson plans that will actually walk you through the process. But the fun part about this is that you can get, for example, an engineer. You can get someone who's who's a business owner, a CEO of a company, and they just spend one day, or they can even Skype in as judges. You can get them on Google Hangouts. Well, now it's YouTube Live, and they can do it virtually. They don't necessarily have to be in your school. But what they do is they listen to the students pitch an idea, and then they ask the students very important questions for that idea. How much are the costs? How much do they plan on making? And then they ask them about, who their target audience is. So that's a good way for your students to really learn how to pitch different innovations and projects as well, and great if you're teaching business English. So here's one particular lesson This one is called the Shark Tank Business Project. It provides you a different vocabulary to be able to use. You also get the business plan resources within this particular project as well. You also get walked through the stages of what this particular person did to be able to run her Shark Tank project. So I think it's a really, really good one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and provide you the link to that so you can download those free resources in case you can't see the slide for some reason. This one is a little bit easier. It's not so much in depth a project like that. So what they do with this one is you actually just get the Shark Tank worksheet, and this one has you look at, it has your students look at different like a Shark Tank episode. And what they do is that they study the products in that Shark Tank episode. And what they do is they have to answer questions about one of the products they have to ask. So how will the sharks get their money back? What is the planning? So they actually just look at the different parts of pitching. And so I think it actually works out better if they're able to do this first. If they're able to go through the worksheet and they're able to study how people on Shark Tank share an innovation or an idea, or how they pitch an idea. They can even compare and contrast. They can look at, which ones they really liked and which ones they believe did not pitch very well. So that really helps students with innovating as well. So this can be a great way to introduce them before they actually design and innovate their own ideas. Another idea is to get them to actually fill out a business plan. And there's many different sites out there that will actually give you a free business plan template. So if you get your students to fill out those templates, then you can, and there's many. So I'm going to share with you 10 templates that you can download for free with this link. So you decide which one is going to be the best one for your students, for their English level. And this is the way a lot of business startups, so they can do a pretend business. Once again, they work in small groups and they fill out different parts of the proposal. If you want to take it a step further, they can actually take it to different companies. If they're really serious about the idea, you can always try and connect them with business leaders in your community to be able to show a business proposal plan. Or you may try and Skype an expert that is a CEO or someone or a venture capitalist. And if you Skype a venture capitalist, they may give them some tips on what their business plan looks like, what things that offer ideas on that business plan, what could improve it, what could make it better. So a lot of when you work with business in business English, I think it's really, really important to be able to connect students to actual people in their field. So it's not only teaching them English, but you have to teach them the business side as well. Give them very practical advice from experts. And there's a lot of experts that are really willing to Skype in and to help out, especially if you work with much younger learners, like teenagers and stuff. They're very good about volunteering for that. So I'm going to put a link that tells you where you can actually Skype, where you can find guest speakers and stuff like that to Skype into the classroom. If you want to do something quick that isn't necessarily a huge project that you have to go a lot of times, then one of the things is, no, you won't have any trouble at all. Just email me. Or you can have your students play games that teach financial literacy. There are a lot more games for young learners. If you have teenagers, if you teach adolescents, if you teach children English, there are tons of games out there. But because business English tends to be with adults, then I'm going to show you the more adult games you can play. One of them is playspent.org. This is a really good one that involves a lot of reading skills. And then I have them do a writing afterwards to reflect on how they spent, what happened during the time they were playing this game. So the way it's a game for change. And what it does is it gets students to answer questions when they're down to their last $1,000. So it's a game that takes them into poverty, and what are the choices they're going to make when they are facing poverty. So they read little short statements, and then they have to make a choice. So the first one is, do you find a job, or are you just going to exit the game? Of course, all the students have to actually I make them, find a job, of course, okay? And then it goes from there, and it takes one down a different path. So during the reflection, they have to write a paragraph telling me. They can even do a podcast if you want them to do that. I teach reading and writing, so for me, they're reading while playing the game, and then they do the writing reflection that tells me, okay, I did this. This is the path I went. I lost all my money when I made this choice or that choice. And then what it teaches them about real life as well, and making money and how they spend money. The other game that's really interesting, online they have a virtual stock trading. Students are given $1 million, and then they get to trade stocks at studentstocktrader.com. They do have to register for free, but it's also an app, and it's also on iOS and the Google Play Store. So with studentstocktrader.com, they sign up, and then they're able to have friendly competition. There's lesson plans, and you can take a look at that, okay? And so trading stock is something that you do from country to country. What I used to get my students to do was, if you look inside the business section, or sometimes it's called the economy section, in your newspapers, then you'll be able to see the different stocks out there, and your students can take a look at what's happening for the day. They usually have them in the Wall Street Journal, or so if you can get them papers, then you can definitely show them the papers if you don't have a lot of technology. And then you can ask them to play the game to study. But they can also study these stocks on paper. They can do it through the newspaper. So another idea is for students to look at local businesses and to create different marketing campaigns for local business. So they can even pitch the ideas to a local business afterwards. If it doesn't cost any money, maybe the business will go with their ideas. And marketing means advertisement as well. So what they're doing is they can create, for example, social networking advertisements for online, or they can study, for example, how much it is to make a TV ad and propose what kind of TV ads, how much airspace. They can research newspaper ads, how much it costs for that, how much it is to be in a local magazine. And so anything that they can come up with that will really, they think will help the business become more profitable. But the other part of that is that they're researching how much all of this costs, and they're trying to make the decisions like what is a better method, or what's a better medium for that local business to spend on that's going to give them their greatest return, which is something definitely they want to learn for financial literacy. So one way they can do this online is with Canva.com. So Canva.com is, exactly, that's a great idea. Peggy George, that they can create a video. Yeah, they can definitely do a video advertisement, and that would definitely, they can do as part of the project. They can also do something where, or they can do a storyboard. Um, Canva is really great because Canva has flyers that you can make for the business online. It has social media posters and things like that. It has a section actually called social media. And so you can make little advertisements for Facebook and YouTube and all of these things you can do with Canva for free, your student. Now they do have to sign up for for a free account. They would have to register for that, but Canva is really easy to use. You know, they have several templates, several options here. They even have, if you're doing something like real estate. So for example, if somebody's trying to sell a home or something like that. Actually, Haram, the stock trader one was for Android. It was an Android app. Canva doesn't have an Android app. It has, but it is a computer. It's a browser based, exactly. It's on the web browser, but it's an iOS app as well. But it is browser based. Business English Pod also has financial accounting resources for free. There's some other sites that have it too. So if you go, for example, to One Stop English, the reason I didn't put One Stop English here as a resource is because One Stop English, you have to be registered on the site. But if you do happen to be part of One Stop English, then you'll find, for example, different ones there as well. But the Business Pod is a really good site that has different business English listening, so you can do that. But not only can you find listenings, but they also have lesson plans. You scroll to the bottom that students can download, and a lot have to do with financial literacy. I know, Herm, you were looking for at one point intercultural communication. They have different business English topics. They have here, for example, in business English news, currency wars. So they talk about currency, you know, and that can be something that students study too, how the different currencies fluctuate. They can learn with infographics. Infographics are a great way to teach financial literacy because it helps students to see graphs, charts, and really get an idea and visualize what's happening. So they can create their own as well. These are some free sites to be able to create infographics. And of course, we have a webinar. If you go to shellyterrell.com/infographics, you'll find those particular lesson plans. There's Pictochart, there's Infogram, Canva, Visme, Smore, and Genially. These are the free ones. There's a lot of other ones out there, but they're not free. These are free ones your students can use. If they can even use that for their business plan to make a visual business plan. So Infogram is pretty easy. I'm going to show you what that one looks like because it has different types of graphing. So if you want to make something that it's really simple and just graphing, then you can use Infogram. And that one's the most basic one of all of them. My favorite personally is Pictochart. That's the one I use. But Infogram is kind of like your first step into creating an infographic because it's very simple. It gives you very limited options. You can have your students use different things like Google Forms for data collection and survey results. So your students can create a survey where they're actually trying to figure out the numbers and collect data through Google Forms. And after you create your own, there's several templates and stuff to ask. And when you collect that, let's put it in a spreadsheet, and then it actually also creates graphs for you. So for this particular one that I did, this is the graph that it came up with for me. I didn't make that graph. Google made it for me. And then Google even put some pie charts for me as well. So there's a lot you can do with Google Spreadsheets and Google Forms. And of course, those are free. There's lots of templates. that you can find for that as well. And in fact, I'm going to try and find the link that will actually give you the different types of Google Form templates. Let's see if I can find that here. But they are getting rid of the template soon, so that might be a problem. Hey, that's a good idea. So Peggy says one idea is that kids could create a survey to see what kind of products people might be interested in buying and how much they're willing to pay. Exactly, that's a great idea for a financial literacy lesson with Google Forms. They could even document, so my students, when they were doing their project, it was called the Home Life Project, and they got to be pretend married to another student, and then they were given a budget, and their budget was based on what kind of job that they had chosen. So we had gone with they had done research on their careers, and we found their salary that way. And so when we found the normal salary for that area, for that particular career, then after that, when they bought a car, they marked that in a spreadsheet. Whenever they purchased things for the house, the average grocery expenses, they would calculate all of that in a Google spreadsheet. Another place to find some good financial literacy, tons of lesson plans and business studies and stuff for older learners as well, is edugains.ca. The other part is TeachDot. TeachDot has 14 lesson plans that teach financial literacy. And so even if some of these say they're for 6th graders or middle school or high school, what I do is I take them and then I adapt them. I make sure that I'll take, for example, the vocabulary, and I'll figure out some vocabulary for my students to learn from that lesson, and then I'll adapt it with maybe a grammar focus, and then I'll just make sure that the materials that are there are at the reading level of my students need. So one of the reasons I decided to do this particular one at this time is because students, in America, we actually have something called Black Friday, and Cyber Monday is coming up too, and all of that is online, Cyber Monday, so that impacts the world. So your students might actually be part of Cyber Monday. They might take part in that. And Black Friday is usually after Thanksgiving, and so it's going to come up in November. It's the 3rd to the last November, Friday in November. It's a shopping craze, and it comes from a phrase called "in the black." It started in Philadelphia in 1961, and basically students find, or people in general find, a lot of deals. In America, we have a lot of stores where students are able to find sales and go shopping. So what you can do is you can teach them with an infographic. Here's an infographic. If you put Black Friday in infographics, there's a lot of statistics and what is bought and what you can save money on, and they can learn about, what are the trends and what they should really go for, because a lot of the deals go by fast. So you actually have to plan for Black Friday, and that's something your students can do. They can plan for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So this is the actually Cyber Monday started in 2005, and it takes place the Monday after Thanksgiving. So if they're going to shop online, what they can do is they can decide what they want to shop for, they can prioritize it, and they can start looking at the best deals now, because you can do that research now. You can research and see what are going to be the best deals, and then they know what they should stand in line for. Because once it comes out, or what they should go on the site, what site they should go on first to try and get that deal for that particular item. So they can compare and they can contrast. They can decide, okay, do I really want to go for my electronics? Am I going to get a better deal for that? Or should I go for something like buying toys for the kids? So that's one of the lesson plans that they can do. And if you have a lot of parents that you teach business English to, and they have kids, or nieces or nephews, then that could save them some money too. So they research the best deals for the wish list items that they have. And once again, the reason why they're doing this is because they have to prioritize what are they going to go for first, and then they have to present that to the rest of their peers and give a justification, like say why they chose to go to these certain sites, what time, and try what deals. They can also predict the hottest selling items, so they can do some research and try and figure out. The infographic I showed you earlier was showing electronics, so they can predict trends. They can look at different trends, what people are buying. Is it going to be the new iPhone 7, or is it going to be, what is going to be the next item? What is going to be the item that people are going to want to buy the most on that particular day? They can predict which companies will make the most profit. Some of the lists might include Amazon, of course, it would be one of the top. What are going to be the top selling items on Amazon? What are the specials that Amazon is going to come up with? There's also a Black Friday app, and it is on Android, and it's also on the iOS. Well, it's in the iTunes, the App Store as well. Oops. And that's it. So if you go to americantesol.com/blogger, and if you type in business, you're going to find a lot of those different resources for business English. So that's a good place to kind of look right now until I get the bookmarks up. But you also have, of course, the slide share that tells you all the places that you can also, all the links that I shared with you today. And thanks to Peggy and Harim for sharing the links as well. So thank you all so much, and I will see you next week. I'm going to go ahead and try and get to my flight now. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.